Wayne Forrester.
Richard James.
Tell me, is there a Gerry Anderson series that you haven't had a hand in somewhere along the way?
Well, as far as I remember, I wasn't involved in Torchy the Battery Boy.
Would you want to have been part of Torchy?
Well,
There's time.
I mean, I'm getting on a little bit, but that looked fun. No, and Lavender Castle I wasn't involved in. So there have been a few.
Yes, but latterly, Stingray, Thunderbirds.
Yes, that's right.
New Captain Scarlet, of course.
Yeah.
Old Captain Scarlet, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
Space Precinct.
That's right, yeah.
Across all sorts of media, TV, now audio adventures as well of these various programs.
It's amazing. It's a thread that's sort of followed me through my whole life. The one thread.
Yes.
That's sort of linked it. Ever since I was a little boy, Thunderbirds was hands down my favourite TV show.
Right.
When I was very young. And I never thought that my career would take me on that path, on that, but somehow it has, and I'm very lucky.
Do you often wish you could go back to that young boy and say, look what you're doing.
Look what you're doing. Take more attention. Read more. No, I remember it as, for me, Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, I don't know, it was the weekend. I was 5, I was sitting on the floor watching the television. There was the Radio Times, probably couldn't read it.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw that Century 21 logo, with the arrow, I knew that I was in for some really special TV viewing.
Now, Wayne, you've sort of let yourself in for something there, because before we go any further, going to play a game called Super Identification.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to show you very brief clips of every single opening credit title sequence of every single Gerry Anderson series.
Right.
From 1957, I think, up until one you might know quite well, in about 2004.
So I may get one right.
You might get one right. So when you see something you know, shout out.
Oh, okay.
Ready?
Yeah,
okay. Have a look at this.
That's Torchy.
Sure.
Four Feather Falls.
Keep watching. Number 3 coming up.
That's Four Feather Falls.
Wow, okay, good. You got your first one there. That was Twizzle.
Twizzle. Oh my God.
Okay, you got one.
Oh, that's Supercars.
Yes.
Yeah. I wish I was Fireball XL.
Of course.
Yeah. Action. Stand by for action. That's Stingray.
It is.
Terrific. Thunderbirds, obviously.
Goes without saying.
Yeah. Brilliant, isn't it? The music is fantastic. Captain Scarlet. Yes. Oh, Joe 90.
Mm.
Yeah. Ooh. That's not
it's gone.
No,
it's gone.
Okay. This is UFO?
It is.
Okay. The Pretender?
Oh!
Persuaders.
Oh! So close. Protectors.
Protectors.
And a very quick clip there you would have got.
Oh, that's... Oh, God, that's gone.
I know, it's so quick.
Inspector Gadget?
No, Dick Spanner.
Oh, here we are. Oh, that's Space Precinct.
Legend, favoured right across the universe.
This is Lavender Castle.
It is. And finally...
Captain Scarlet.
That's
there we go. I had
That's
to get
it.
that one right.
Well done, exactly.
Wow.
You may have noticed we do it really quickly to completely bamboozle you.
Totally bamboozled.
And catch you off balance.
Amazing.
You got 10.
Did I?
Yes, you did. To be fair, if we'd given you a little bit more time, you would have got many, many more than that.
Twizzle.
I know we throw them at you, Twizzle. You got Torchy, but out of sequence.
Yeah, well, I was just saying it.
I know. But 10. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But 10 is very good.
Good. Excellent.
There you are.
Oh, look at that.
Your little scorecard.
Oh, look.
You'll go on the front of the desk here with the other...
Their head is almost to scale. Look. Well, it's like sort of Thunderbirds scale,
exactly. There you go. So well done. So you mentioned then, I kind of guess that you do all right on super identification because you've been immersed in this Gerry Anderson world now for a good few years.
True,
really.
yeah. Well, yes.
One way or
absolutely.
another.
Yeah.
But you mentioned there your childhood and started to watch Gerry Anderson shows from perhaps a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
What other things were attracting your attention at that time? Do you remember? What did you grow up loving?
Apart from Thunderbirds, I loved things like Camberwick Green, Trumpton, Mr. Ben.
Great.
All of those, Magic Roundabout.
Yes.
Those
all
were
the classic.
They were classics, weren't they? Yeah. So, when you brought up on Trumpton and you're excited about the fire engine at the end, when Thunderbirds came along,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
it's a completely different level of adventure, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
All of a sudden, I mean, you know, the opening sequence had massive explosions.
Yeah.
Suddenly there were all these fantastic craft, you
Yeah.
know, and, you know, proper adventure.
I mean, I sort of envy people like you who saw it, you know, not obviously when it was first broadcast, but saw it as a child
Yeah.
for the first time,
Yeah.
not knowing what to expect. Because, you know, being an adult, you're quite blasé about it. Oh, it's Thunderbirds. Yeah, we know the opening sequence and the explosion and the launches. But actually seeing them for the first time as a child.
That's right. And of course, you know, there were no videos then. So,
Yeah.
you know, you watch it or miss it.
Yes.
You know?
And what was it particularly about? Was it the craft or the characters or the storytelling or the models?
As
or
a little boy, it was the craft, you know. I loved aeroplanes. I always liked aeroplanes.
Yeah.
And to see these fantastic, you know,
Yeah.
spaceships and,
Yeah.
you know, supersonic jets.
Yeah.
And in a proper, you know, Jeopardy adventure,
Yeah.
was just brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
I think, and it was so colourful as well, wasn't it? It was so vibrant. There was something about, I think, as a young kid, you know, I was attracted to the colour of things, and the Gerry Anderson shows. They were sort of colour coded, weren't they? They, you know, I mean, Thunderbirds, for instance, you know, the different
Yes,
sashes,
that's right.
different colour sashes, different coloured craft,
Yes.
and then Captain Scarlet, of course, is
Yes.
you know the spectrum
Yes.
of colours. There was something about that sort of bright '60s sort of
Yeah,
you know
aesthetic.
vivid aesthetic,
Yeah,
that
extraordinary.
really appealed to, and also, of course, the music was
Yeah.
a huge hook for me.
And what's interesting, considering you've, you know, latterly found a lot of work providing voices for Gerry Anderson series, did they strike you at the time? Do you remember Jeff Tracy or, you know, original Captain Scarlet voices?
I don't think I recognised them as great characters. I was
Yeah.
just drawn into the story like
Yeah.
any child would.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was totally immersed in the world and it was totally believable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that sort of uniform style that Gerry has, that super marionation.
Yes.
It just draws you into that world, and it's so beautiful and charming and kind of magical
Yeah.
that as a child you just accept it, you know. And
Yeah.
that's the wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You know, as you get a little bit older, people are quite cynical and they sometimes laugh at the puppets, but I never laughed
Yeah.
at the puppets watching Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, this is great, you know.
Yeah.
Show more of Thunderbird 3. Because I loved orange.
Okay,
Orange was my
really?
favourite colour. Random thing.
Yeah.
It's like, more Thunderbird 3, please. Why isn't Thunderbird 3 more active? Why doesn't it
Fair
do any
comment.
more adventures?
Yeah,
any more
absolutely.
rescues?
Yeah. Now, you touched on it already, your first Anderson memory, but let's have a look at it in video form.
Ah.
See if this sends shivers down the back of your spine.
Okay.
Have a look at this. There you go.
Absolutely, there you go.
That has got to be the
Guaranteed.
quickest first Gerry Anderson memory we've had on the podcast. But
That
yeah.
was it. That was that's the logo. That's the moment.
yeah.
That means that whatever
anything could
happens-
happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You knew that for at least the next half an hour, probably the next 45 minutes,
Yeah.
you were going to be watching something great. And when that came on, I didn't know whether it was going to be Joe 90 or
Yeah.
Captain Scarlet or Thunderbirds,
Yes, right.
because a little boy, and
Yeah.
I was just hooked.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the hook that got me into it.
Yeah. And at what stage then did you start to think that you might, obviously not necessarily want to be a part of that Gerry Anderson genre, but to be an actor in some form or a performer in some way?
Gosh, I don't know.
Was it always
I think
in
I
there?
probably wanted to be Captain Scarlet as a kid, or wanted to be Virgil Tracy, perhaps.
Amazing.
Because I had I mean, look at this. This is UFO, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
I had one of these. I
Yeah.
had the
Yeah.
corgi green one.
Right.
Corgi dinky,
Right.
I can't remember. Yeah, and I kept losing that because that kept firing.
Of course.
Um,
Everybody did.
But yeah, just playing,
Yeah.
dressing up, playing.
But was there
running
a moment
around?
when you thought, I'd like to make a living out of doing this?
Well, when I decided to become an actor, I never thought that there was a chance that I could play any of the heroes
Yeah.
that Gerry Anderson had created.
Yeah.
No way.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's,
Yeah, way up the scale.
yeah, way off the scale.
Yeah.
And, a totally different universe. I mean, how do you even do it? And then when the stage show came along,
Aha.
that was pretty groundbreaking, really. because-
So Thunderbirds FAB a stage show.
A stage show, yeah.
Were you part of the original cast?
I wasn't part of the original cast. No, it was created by Gavin Robertson and Andrew Dawson, Mime Theatre Project, and they were touring the show for years, and they were a big, massive hit at the Edinburgh Festival. I remember going to the Edinburgh Festival one year in the 80s. I think it was up there doing some Shakespeare play or something, and seeing the banner Thunderbirds. I was thinking, wow, that's amazing. I haven't even seen the word Thunderbirds since I was a little boy.
Yes, that's right.
Because there were no videos or DVD that didn't exist.
That's right, yeah, exactly.
So, wow, that is amazing. So it appealed directly to the nostalgic audience. You know?
Really did.
That's the audience that the show was originally, created for.
Yeah.
Because people couldn't go away and check out what was in any particular episode.
Yeah.
Because it was just the memory of it.
That's right.
So that show became a big cult hit and went into the West End, and the boys did, broke the box office record there, the Apollo, I think it was, in Shaftesbury Avenue. And they decided they didn't want to do it anymore. And they thought, well, a friend of mine, John Gore, who's a fledgling producer, he's now a very big producer.
Yeah.
He said, well, I think the show could run successfully in the West End. Yeah. And the boys at the time weren't sure whether they could teach the show to two others, because it was a two-man show.
That's right.
Because they'd been trained in mime.
Yeah, that's right. A very specialised form of mime as well.
That's right, yeah. And luckily there was a lovely friend, an actor called Paul Kent, who I was in university with. We were all in university with John. Yeah. And we sort of looked a little bit like Gavin and Andy.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul was very much like Andy. I was a little bit more like Gavin.
Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, they did teach the show, and we went on various tours, and we ended up in the West End, and I think it was about nearly 5 years of work.
Amazing, really?
All over the world, and Japan, Australia, and...
Gosh, I got crew in Plymouth.
You got crew.
Great. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Because they then went on to had other iterations. I mean, I did it with...
That's right, yeah.
I did it with Paul.
You did it with Paul after Space Precinct, I remember.
That's right. So, what was your journey from Thunderbirds to Space Precinct, in which you played many roles? Because I seem to remember that we have been going for quite some time, maybe a few months before you joined us.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Well, I'd heard that Gerry was doing a new show through Rob Thurtle from Mime Theatre Project and Andy Dawson, because they had done the pilot, I think.
Yes, that's right.
I think they'd done the pilot episode of
Space Police, as it was.
Space Police, as it was.
Yeah.
That's right, with Shane Rimmer, right?
That's right, yeah.
So it's a completely different pilot cast.
Yeah.
So there were rumblings and rumours that this was going on, and I thought, I'd love to be able to do that. And Rob said, this is something that maybe, you might be able to get involved with. I was like, that'd be great. But the irony was I was doing Thunderbirds at the time, and I was in Australia.
Okay.
when it all kicked off. So
right.
I was like desperate. Anyway, it all worked out. So I came into the show a little bit later,
because Rob and Andy went off, didn't they? Or certainly Rob did, to do Three Musketeers.
They went off to do
Rob
and Andy went to do Three Musketeers,
right?
With Gavin, and that was a way into the show for me. Yeah. But I had met Gerry. I had a meeting with Gerry before the series, because they needed to promote this show, Space Police, in America, in Florida, in Miami, at some gigantic television festival.
Yeah.
So I went along and met Gerry in his office, and he sort of outlined the sort of general idea of what the show is about. And I said, well, it sounds fantastic. He said, well, there may be a chance for you to be in it. We're not sure, didn't know. So, typically you don't know until you're actually doing the job, right?
No, absolutely.
But I got a call just before Christmas. This was way before the series had started.
Yeah.
From Gerry Anderson, who phoned me in my home in Porthcawl. There's a phone call for you, Wade.
Yeah. It's Gerry Anderson.
It's Gerry Anderson. And he phoned me and said, we're going to Miami. to promote with Richard Gregory.
Yeah.
And so Gerry was going, Richard Gregory was going.
Yeah.
And would you come along and be a Creon?
Great.
I said, a what?
But yes.
But yes,
A what?
Of course,
but
but
yes.
of course, yeah, whatever you like.
Miami, you say? Yeah.
Miami, yeah. So the three of us, took about the Three Musketeers. We flew off to Miami, and we attended this television festival where there was like Baywatch and Babylon 5, I think.
Yeah,
and
well, absolutely, around that
it was
time.
huge, and we went to a Baywatch clam bake while we were over there.
I
Beach
don't want to know what that was like.
which was incredible. I mean, it was a very starry thing. And Richard and I were like, this is going to be great.
Brilliant.
We are going to take over the world. This is going to be massive. We had a great time.
Yeah.
But I spent, several hours a day dressed as a Creon in all the gear.
Now, had the show been greenlit by then? Or was this part of the process of trying to raise the finances?
I think it was part. It was part of the process.
So that must have been.
So there was a bit of
the one that clinched many deals.
Well,
then.
I think it probably did. I would imagine it.
Yeah.
It would have.
Because I know there are stories, I think, from Miami of one broadcaster putting their hand up and saying, "Well, I'll have it for X amount," and other broadcasters saying, "Well, if they're having it, I'll have it. I'll have it." I think Richard Gregory used to tell the story that suddenly the whole room was saying, "Yeah, we'll have it," and off it went.
Well, certainly the Creon cop that I was playing was attracting quite a lot of attention.
That's right.
And the Americans, they love to talk to people in masks.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were just coming up and saying, "Hey, where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Demeter City." At one point, Joan Rivers came up and spoke to me, and they're just very happy chatting to aliens and Mickey Mouse and anything.
That's right.
Anything in a funny head. Anyway, it was great fun, and it certainly turned a lot of heads.
Well, what's interesting is that I was speaking to David Quilter earlier, who's also a podcast guest.
Fredo.
That's right. And, he was saying what I would say about working on Space Precinct particularly was that I always felt like I worked for Gerry and not with Gerry because we didn't see very much of him.
That's very true.
And I can't say I had much of a relationship with him or even by the end of the shoot whether he'd even recognise me if I walked past without the mask on. But you, because of your experiences with the Thunderbirds stage show, had got to know him somewhat.
I had, that's very true. Although, like you say, he wouldn't have recognised me because we were, as you remember, we were all latexed up.
But how did you find him as a man? What are your memories of
He was
Gerry?
he was always very loyal to me and very trusting and I can't say a bad word about him because he just had belief in me, even when maybe I didn't have as much belief in myself as I should have. He was saying, "No, you can do it." And I think he remembered me from when we did like the Generation Game or something together, when we did the Thunderbird appearances and stuff. And, and of course, when we went to Miami, right?
Yes, yeah. Amazing.
So when it came to Captain Scarlet, I was able to knock on his door.
Oh.
And
wow. And say, "Remember me?"
I'd found out that there were rumours that Captain Scarlet was happening. Not least because I did do. Gosh, I'd forgotten about this. I'd actually been brought in as a motion capture performer for the pilot of this new Captain Scarlet, which featured Francis Matthews.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So very, very early embryonic stages of what a new Captain Scarlet may or may not be.
Yeah.
And I did that and I thought, that's great. I said, but what I'd really like to do would be a voice in it.
A voice.
A voice in it.
Yeah.
So I actually knocked on his door in Pinewood, which you could in those days. And he said, "Oh, nice to see you." He said, what can I do for you? I said, "Well, I did the motion capture for you for Scarlet. I just wondered, if you went to series, whether you might consider me for more motion capture stuff, please." And he said, "Well, what are you doing at the moment?" I said, "Well, I do mostly voice acting. I'm an actor."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, why don't you come and audition for Captain Scarlet on Thursday?" And I went, "Yeah, I'd love to." Thinking, it'll be air traffic controllers, thugs.
Yeah. And you'd be happy to do that, I'm sure.
I would have been very happy to do that. And he went over to this old filing cabinet, and he reached in and he got the script out, and he said it was lines for Captain Scarlet. And I said, "Oh no, this is to read for Captain Scarlet." He said, "That's right." He said, "Come along on Thursday and do that." I said, "Yes."
Amazing. Gosh, how incredible. We'll talk more about Captain Scarlet next week. But in the meantime, let's just have a look at you in action from Space Precinct. And see if you remember this little beauty.
Sure, I seen it. I told my buddy Embry I seen it. And I'm telling you, I did. Huh?
Saw what?
Warren, what are you doing?
Zipload said we gotta find a pump a little.
This is highly irregular, officer.
What can we do, Captain? If we don't pay, he don't play. Tell the Captain what you saw.
Okay. I was coming back, see, from my job. Got a job, I collect trash. I turn it in. And I seen...
Why did they think of me for this character?
It's funny, isn't it? Yes, exactly. What was it about me that they...
There must have been something.
Please, what did you see on the cliff?
It was terrible. I told old Embry, I never seen nothing
And my
like
hands should be dirty. My hands are very clean.
right, yeah.
They should be dirty, shouldn't they?
That's right.
Okay. There was this Creon, a female.
Yeah? Was this her?
And when
I
you see
think
one
so.
Creon, you see them all.
Whoosh, up in flames.
Do you remember actually shooting this scene?
I do remember shooting this scene very well.
Yeah.
Because there's a good story behind this.
Down and down she goes.
Because
There's a
you
lot, isn't there, to say? That's one of the biggest parts I've ever
And
had
that's
on
the
screen.
last I seen her.
it was a lovely part, and quite important to the plot as well.
Yeah.
Who pushed her?
Because you've seen...
I ain't sure.
I
It was
saw
dark.
certain.
Haldane
That's it.
pushing somebody off a cliff.
Podley's daughter.
Yeah.
It wasn't it. The guy I seen was human. I want some grub. You promised me I could have some grub if I...
Don't worry, pal. We got you covered.
Do you recognize him in any of these photos?
Nah. Wait a minute.
Look again.
This is Jerome at his best as well. I
Yeah,
think.
this is great. Oh, yeah. This makeup was Neil
That's him.
Gordon's.
Right,
That's the guy I
okay.
see.
The crayons and the tarns were done by Richard Gregg.
That's
So This was
right.
one of the rarer Neil Gordon ones.
There we go.
What a great clip. That's so good. What
What
an
do you
amazing memory.
What do you remember of shooting that then?
Well, I remember this very vividly because on my way to work that day, I crashed my car.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
because there was a wasp in my car,
Oh God.
and the wasp appeared from nowhere, came to life.
Yeah.
Life. It had been a cold night. I don't know.
Yeah.
It had been sleeping. And this wasp went absolutely mad as I was driving to work. And I tried to open the window of the car. And the next thing, there was a red light. There was a car in front of me. And I went, ah!
Oh my gosh. I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah. So I arrived at the studio pretty shaken
Yeah.
for this pretty big part, right?
Yeah.
So I got into makeup, explained, what happened? The wasp. Oh, what happened to the wasp? Did you get him? No, the wasp flew away.
Yeah. Did he put anything on it? No, he had it as it was.
I
Yeah.
said, my God, that wasp. I'd have captured the little thing. So I got into all this makeup because that's a makeup you can't take off. Once it's on, it's on. You can't take the
Yeah,
head off.
yeah.
Like with a crayon or a tar,
Yeah.
you could take it off. And when we went on set and rehearsed that, and the bottle that I'm drinking, it's a real glass bottle.
Yes.
And I chipped the front of my teeth.
Now I do remember that.
It wasn't badly chipped, but
Yeah.
I did chip it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, because of course it's difficult to explain, but you could see nothing. Essentially, you could see nothing. So you have no idea of space, where things are
right,
in
yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So to hold a bottle, which is why you can see us holding it to your mouth.
That's right, yeah,
But obviously
yeah.
that's difficult when you yourself can't see where you should be holding
That's
it.
right, I know. Yeah, you're going, where is it? You could end up sticking it in your eye. Or something.
Absolutely, yeah, in your one eye, yeah. That's right. Which would be no good to anybody. Yeah,
Good at all.
I do
Yes,
remember
so I did that. It was like, oh no, whoa.
What a day.
What a day! But it was a great day's filming,
Yeah.
and I just wish I had dirt on my hands.
funny, isn't it? Yeah,
maybe
little
they
details.
washed me at the
Yes,
when they
exactly.
took my prints
Took your
or
prints.
something.
That's right. That's what we'll say.
Funny the things you see.
Yeah. But of course, you were one of the few of the creature cast to also occasionally appear as themselves.
I did occasionally.
Like
yeah.
this.
Oh.
Sorry, fellas. Wish I could help, but you know the rules. All undocumented animals are destroyed. We just don't have the facilities.
Thanks a lot, pal.
I told you, Romek, there's nothing we can do.
Come on, Oren, where's your sense of humanity?
There you go.
Look at that.
Very
How smooth.
A brief appearance. And I think you played several sort of medics and ambulance drivers and so on as yourself.
I think I did. The very first time I played a human in it was a sort of radar operator tracking a meteorite or
Oh,
something.
yeah, okay.
I was like, please let me be human in this. 'cause
Yeah.
by this time, I'd played all these guest roles.
Absolutely. And what a treat to do a scene without having to put a mask on.
Absolutely. It's like, wow, it was great. And then when I came to watch it back, they revoiced me.
Of course. The perennial problem with Space Precinct.
It's like, what the
Absolutely.
devil? Yeah, yes, there are quite a few quite well-known
Absolutely.
actors, right?
Yeah,
Who've
too
been
right.
revoiced.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes terribly. I mean, it's very apparent sometimes.
God.
I don't think it did themselves many favours.
It's so ironic.
Yeah, yeah.
But I haven't seen that one.
Sweet, isn't it? What are your sort of overall memories now? I mean, we're 30 years on, Wayne, if you can believe that.
Well, just lovely memories. I
Yeah.
mean, for a start, it was lovely to be working.
Yeah.
I think I had about 9 months on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
To be, one, to be working, two, to be working at Pinewood, which is such an iconic studio. And, all the memories of Bond.
That's right.
I think First Night was being filmed
That's
there.
right.
Right?
Yes, it was. Connery and
Just
Richard Gere.
Richard Gere, and Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Wow! And they built this huge castle next to the
That's
set.
right. I remember driving out the gates. We used to have fun, Charlotte and I, because we were together at that point. There used to be almost paparazzi waiting outside when Connery was filming.
Right.
And I remember she used to drive out in her Volvo and I'd be sitting in the passenger seat and I put the coat over my head to pretend that I was...
I was Sean. That's hilarious.
I don't remember seeing any pictures in the papers. Don't think it would. But yeah.
Yeah, no, what an exciting place to be.
Yeah.
God, yeah. And just, oh gosh, and we all thought, here we are.
Yes.
Here we go.
That's right. Yeah.
It was a strange one because a lot of people say, well, this is an odd job because you're getting into makeup every day, you're being glued into a chin every day.
Yeah.
I remember saying, I love the smell of Prosaid in the morning.
Prosaid, that's right. That's what it was called.
That's what it was called. That kind of latex
That's
glue.
white, sticky glue.
Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah.
And then you'd be in it, and the lips were forever coming undone. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
So if you at lunchtime, where you're eating a sandwich, you get bits of
That's it.
sandwich stuck down there.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
if you look closely, you can see very often the lips would come away while you were filming. So there's an awful lot of this going on. And you try to sort of, build it into the character. Do you remember?
That's right.
I was going,
Oh dear, yeah, ridiculous. We talked about your early inspirations, watching most particularly that Century 21 TV logo that used to fill you with delight and
Absolutely,
thrill you
yes.
every weekend. And then something of your experience working for the Thunderbirds stage show, meeting Gerry, moving on to Space Precinct,
Yes,
and your
yes.
abiding memories of that. Anything else that you can remember from your time at Pinewood?
I'm trying to think. I remember one of my favourite characters from Space Precinct was when I got to play Romek's grandfather. That's Lou Hirsch.
Yes, that's right.
Lou.
That's right.
Lou.
Go on, say it.
Lou. I think
Yeah.
it's safe to say didn't enjoy himself
No.
on Space Precinct.
No, he didn't.
Because he didn't like the glue.
No, that's right.
I don't like the glue.
Yeah.
I gotta.
That's right. That's right. And he let everyone know at any opportunity.
Absolutely. But that was his character. That was the character.
Yes.
It was a kind of grumpy sort of
Yeah.
New York.
That's
you know,
right.
Creon, right?
That's it.
But I had the chance to play his grandfather in one of the episodes, so I kind of channeled my Lou impression.
Yeah.
Which
That's right.
is great. It was great fun.
Really
so much so
sweet.
that actually afterwards, he said to me, "I tell you what, kid," he said, "Why don't you play Romek?
Right. Yeah.
And I'll revoice him."
Yeah, that's right. That was his plan. I remember.
Yeah. Did he ask you as well?
No, he absolutely mentioned that it was a plan of his to get you to play Romek.
Is that right?
Yeah, because he told me specifically that he went to see Gerry with that plan and said, look, he said to Gerry, you said that you would recast it if I didn't like it. And Gerry said, I don't remember that conversation.
That's extraordinary.
That was Lou's
How
problem
funny.
until the very last
How
day.
funny.
Yeah.
So,
Would you have done that, by the way, out of interest? Would you have taken over from Lou?
I don't know.
Yeah. You seem to be having a pretty good time as it was.
I was having
playing
a
the
good
different
time.
roles. I mean, that must have been quite
I thought
attractive.
I couldn't understand why he wasn't enjoying himself.
Well, yeah. There we are.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
he is one person I would love to get around this interview table and just say, Lou, let rip. Say what you want to say.
Take the gloves
It's all
off.
fine.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I don't think he ever would.
Unplugged.
Yeah. Then, of course, I mean, we have to talk about new Captain Scarlet. We
Right,
touched on it
yes.
briefly last week with you very bravely knocking on Gerry's door, only to be asked to audition for the title role.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, no one was more surprised than me, you know.
What was the audition like then? Do you remember the actual...
I do.
Back at Pinewood?
Back at Pinewood. I'd been given the script for Scarlet,
Yeah.
but I thought I would write some other lines
Okay.
just in case he didn't want me for Scarlet.
Okay.
So like a sort of Russian pilots,
Yeah.
and air traffic controllers.
Okay, so you had the feeling it was either or it was this or nothing. Is that what you
Yeah,
were thinking?
pretty much. I thought if I can't walk, I mean, if I could get Captain Scarlet, that
Yeah.
would be incredible. But if I can't, I want to be able to be in the series regardless.
Yeah.
So I, did all these extra bits that I'd written,
Yeah.
and I'd read for Captain Scarlet as well. And it was a huge soundstage.
Yeah.
It wasn't a little, sound studio like we're used to now. It was a big soundstage with a sort of like a box to stand on with a microphone, and Gerry and his associate producers were at the back of the stage behind glass listening in.
Right. Wow.
And I remembered just doing my best for this. And at the end of the interview, at the end of the audition, I stopped, turned around, and they came out from their little booth, and Gerry said, "Well," he said, "you sound a lot taller than you look."
Okay. Is that a good
And he
thing?
said, "Well done." I went, "Oh, thank you very much." Yeah.
I mean, was that an offer on the day?
I don't know. I don't think it was.
Yeah. But you...
I don't think it was. There's another story behind that. So I did find out that I'd been offered it. But I knew that there was a chap who was supposed to be casting this, who I knew quite well, who overlooked me for the audition. That's why I knocked on Gerry's door, because I'd known him from Space Precinct.
Yeah.
And the chap who I can't say his name, who was supposed to be casting these voices, had to phone me up and tell me that I'd got the job.
Oh, revenge is sweet, isn't it?
So
Right,
it was a
great.
strange one.
Yeah.
But I was absolutely over the moon. I was thrilled.
Of course.
Completely thrilled. What an iconic character.
Yes.
And a kind of massive kind of flashback to childhood. And
Yeah.
having done Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, the stage show, then Captain Scarlet. Oh my God. I almost felt guilty in a way that I'd got it.
Why?
I don't know. I just...
Not little old me, surely.
Well, I don't know. It was... I can't say I felt guilty, but I was astonished.
Yeah.
And, hugely pleased. And it was like a massive shot in the arm for me.
Yeah, too right.
And then, of course, rehearsal... we didn't do rehearsals, but the rest of the cast was assembled.
Yeah.
And they were just fabulous, Jules de Jong, Robbie Stevens, Mike Haley, and Emma Tate, Julia Brahms. Really, I knew Julia from other work that I'd done.
Yeah.
And there was such a lovely, lovely cast.
Yeah.
And we got the chance to record every episode all together.
Oh, I see. Right. Great.
Because, as you know, like so often now, things are recorded. You go into a booth and just record your lines.
Yeah.
But it was recorded like a radio show. And our director was there. A great director. They'd show us all the artwork beforehand and say, this is what this tank looks like, or this aircraft looks like.
Yeah.
And this is. I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
All of which would have been, I mean, although there was some redesigns, would have been very familiar to you.
Pretty familiar, yeah,
From the original
absolutely.
series.
But just kind of given the proper 21st century
right.
look,
That's right, yeah.
made a bit stealthy,
Yeah.
a bit sexier,
Yeah, yeah.
and just great.
Yeah.
All those gadgets. Oh, it was great. But for me, the challenge was I'd been used to playing all the other characters in things. But that was the job of the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast got to, like Robbie, who was Captain Blue, who was fantastic, were also playing guest roles. I was going, can I do a guest role?
No,
and they're going,
can't
no,
really.
you can't.
Yeah.
You just have to be happy being Captain Scarlet. Going, okay.
Oh, yeah.
If you're happy with that, that's fine. That's fine.
That's right. Well, let's have a little look. This, in fact, is a trailer from the 10th anniversary of New Captain Scarlet, so it's already 10 years old. But here's a trailer for the 10th anniversary of New Captain Scarlet. Let's have a look at this. I mean, it still looks amazing, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Hey, I've got a fix.
But there's nothing out there. Ah, that's the early hairstyle.
Right.
Captain Scarlet.
Okay, yeah. Now, at what point would you have seen the finished article? When it was broadcast? Right.
Absolutely, yeah. So this would have just been stage directions on the script.
Yeah.
So you're trying to imagine it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the voice of the Mr.
It's very cool, isn't it?
And were you involved in the motion capture as well, or was that an entirely separate cast?
That was a totally different cast.
Okay.
I did the motion capture for the pilot.
Yeah, right.
But there was these specialist movement experts who were acrobats as well. Martial artists. Look at that. Look at this.
I know.
So this is Skybase. It was called Cloudbase.
That's it. That's
enormously advanced. They exercise a control over matter itself. They can kill anyone and rebuild
Mike's voice is just brilliant, isn't it?
war against us.
It's so filmic, isn't it?
It really is.
Look at that.
I mean, I think many people would say, well, if not an improvement, it's certainly...
It's amazing.
It's another beast entirely from the original series.
And look at those Angel Interceptors.
Yeah. Best of enemies.
That is very cool. One man. Fate has made.
Yeah, guess what's coming up? Indestructible.
Captain Scarlet, Spectrum.
I'd never have guessed.
There you go.
That's very cool.
Yeah, nice.
You see, this is the beauty of being in animation. I wouldn't be cast in that if it was a live action.
Well, that's right. Yeah. That's true.
Tom Cruise would get it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's the great thing. You can be so many different things on.
So there were, I think, 26 episodes of New Captain Scarlet.
Right.
But how much work was that for you? Was it a day in the booth with the rest of the cast per episode every couple of weeks, or was it one big block of work? Or
That's a good question. I think it was every few weeks.
Yeah.
We'd go in and we would do at least an episode.
Right.
A day.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe two episodes.
Yeah.
I think. And as I said, all together as an ensemble. So we can kind of feed off each other.
Yeah.
And I only missed one recording, and that was the day that my daughter was born.
Aha. Lovely. Very nice.
So I was like, oh, I'm missing a recording here. And I hadn't slept for like 24 hours.
Yeah. Probably wise. Yeah.
But I phoned up the team and said, how's the recording going? I'm so sorry I can't be there. And they all went, congratulations!
Sweet. How lovely.
I remember their voices on the phone going, what?
I'm sure. Now, when I mentioned on our Facebook group that we had you as a guest on the podcast, I mean, we almost broke the internet.
Oh, really?
So many questions left by our viewers and listeners. So if you'd like to reach into the Space 1999 lunchbox here, take a good old handful, Wayne.
Take a handful.
Lots of questions, And let's see how many of these we can get through.
Okay.
All right?
Right. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. The first one is from Callum Parkin. Hello, Callum. Hi, Wayne. Do you have a favourite voice that you'd like to perform? And is there any voice or accent you've never been able to get the hang of?
Oh, that's tricky, yeah. What
favourite voice?
Yeah.
Well, accent-wise, I always find Newcastle really difficult.
Yeah, that's tricky.
That's quite a tricky
There is a
one
good
to do.
phrase. Do you want to hear the phrase
Yeah, go
that
for
I
it,
was
yeah.
always told?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
John Paul Gaultier has broken the photocopier.
John Paul Gaultier has broken the photocopier.
There you go.
There you go. You
That's
see?
it. That's all I could do in Geordie.
Fixed.
But it's
Fixed. Let me see. Do you have a favourite voice that you like to perform? Oh, gosh. Well, I like doing, like, silly voices.
Yeah.
Let me see. I did a show called The Fimbles, and there was a character called Rocket the Frog on there.
Classic.
Do you remember that?
Of course I remember.
Rocket the Frog.
Tippity toppity.
Yeah, that was quite good fun. Once I found that little part of my voice where I could do that,
Yeah.
it's a key to lots of strange and wonderful characters.
Right.
Let me see, favourite voice. So yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah.
I have to say Captain Scarlet, of course, don't I? I mean, it's got to be.
Be rude not to.
Yeah. I also really enjoy doing X20.
Ah, yes, okay, which we might have seen, viewers and listeners, at Birmingham Symphony Hall. this year for,
that's right, that was fun.
Deadly Concerto, yeah. It's amazing.
Because I was pretty new to Stingray.
Right.
I didn't really know Stingray. It sort of passed me by as a kid.
Yeah.
So I had to,
watch a couple.
Which is great fun.
Absolutely.
I was like going, this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's very funny.
And what was the key to X20 then? What made...
Oh, it's Peter Lorre,
There you
isn't
go.
it? Yeah. Peter Lorre.
And once you know that,
Yeah.
off you
Once
go.
you know that, I know. Yeah. So that's a good one. Thank you
Lovely.
very much, Callum. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Next one?
SIG. Right. Oh, gold.
Yeah, come on then.
It's like Christmas, isn't it?
It really is,
It's
yes. What has
What do you
3
call-
feet? No, it's not Christmas, not yet.
Paul Hyde. Hello, Paul. Hi. Let me see. Hi, Wayne. Thank you for doing the voice of new Captain Scarlet. Did you ever feel that you were feeling a bit nervous following Francis Matthews? Love your voice for King Harmonious. Ooh,
Oh,
thank you
yes.
very much.
Deadly Concerto,
so
yeah.
funny, I had tears rolling down my face. I'm glad they were rolling down your face. Thank you very much. Well, nervous, yeah, of course. Nervous following Francis Matthews. Because it's such an iconic role, right?
Yeah.
But there's no way I was going to... I had to find my own... I had to find my own voice.
That wasn't the job, really, was it, to follow in his footsteps?
No.
I mean, it wasn't a reboot. Well, it was a reboot, I suppose, wasn't it? It was starting from scratch, in a sense.
It was a reboot, yeah. with a just a new feel to it, wasn't
that's
it?
right, yeah.
So Gerry's note to me was that he didn't want it either American or British sounding. He wanted it somewhere in between, somewhere kind of mid-Atlantic, somewhere. I think it kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah.
As it went along.
Yeah.
As
things do. Yeah.
As things do, yeah. And some lines are more Captain Scarlet than others.
Right.
And you sort of find your voice in those lines, those phrases.
Yes.
Remote acquisition technology.
Right.
RAT, Finally. Yes, so no, I didn't try to. Well, I mean, I couldn't help but follow on, and play the part. But no, I didn't.
If they'd wanted a Francis Matthews type, they either would have got him back or found someone who could do him.
Oh, do a Francis Matthews.
That's right.
And actually, I did manage. When we did the Spectrum files, the audio files.
That's right.
I was asked to do Francis Matthews. That's right. SIG. Yes.
Great.
So,
Great.
So in a way, I've been able to do both.
Yeah, perfect. Another question?
Let's have another one.
Yeah.
Let's have another one. Okay.
Yep.
You should have a cracker, shouldn't you?
Yes.
Crackers.
Well, come back for our Christmas podcast. We'll have
did you
exactly
do
that. Yeah.
Ben Page. Hello, Ben. Ben. From stage to screen to audio and beyond, what is your favourite medium for acting and why?
Oh,
Good question. Well,
because
each
you've sort of done it all, haven't you, really, in terms of different media?
I guess so.
Yeah.
But, actors have to be flexible, don't they? Because we need to keep working, right?
Yeah.
I think each one of those has their own advantage. I mean, stage is... You get immediate feedback, don't you?
Yeah.
You know if it works.
Yeah.
And you get that little rush. If they laugh, or you can just feel it, and there's that special energy.
Absolutely.
Screen is interesting because it's so repetitious, isn't it?
And a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
A lot of hanging around.
And I think in my heart I'm a kind of stage performer because when I do screen acting, we do one take And I kind of breathe a sigh of relief and think that's it. And then they go, we'll just reset and we'll do it all again. So you have to do it all again. So you have to.
Yes.
So that's, in a way, it's really, I find that more tiring.
Yeah.
And actually a bit more stressful. Some
Yeah.
people can be very relaxed and love the
Yeah.
fact that if you fluff your lines, you can just redo it.
Yeah.
But actually, you have to think more technically.
Yeah. And you're often under pressure because, as a jobbing actor, you're sometimes asked for a line or two, a morning's work on something.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that line or two suddenly assumes an enormous importance, doesn't it,
That's
in your
right.
mind?
And you don't want to be the one that holds up this, this show that's been going for
That's
years
right.
with
Yeah.
all the established cast.
Yeah, yeah.
Audio is great.
Yeah.
I love doing audio work.
Yeah.
Because it's the best of all worlds.
In what way?
Well, because you can get to play a huge variety of parts.
Yeah.
You have that, if you're lucky, you can have that company feel. You
Yeah.
know?
That's right.
And if you mess up, you can redo it.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it's, I'm so lucky to have been able to do that, whether it's radio or animation.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you, Ben. Really good question. It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Because they're all terrific.
There you go. That's right.
The great thing about audio is you don't have to dress up, or if you've got a pimple or something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's right. Turn up anyway. Yeah. Next question. Yeah,
Okay,
come on, let's have one more.
Okay, Gary Hodgkinson.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Gary, do you know?
Oh, yes. Well, we know all these people.
Oh, you know all these people.
for sure, yes.
Hi, guys. Okay, hi, Wayne. Have enjoyed your performances in Anderson shows, especially New Captain Scarlet and the concert. And at the concert, your X20 was fab.
There you
Which
go.
is your favourite Anderson show?
Aha! Well, we sort of touched on this with your Thunderbirds memories last time. But
Yes.
is
Yeah.
that top of the heap, do you think?
Yes, I think Thunderbirds.
Ever had any time for the live action stuff? Space 1999,
Well, yeah,
UFO?
it was on, but kind of in the background for me.
Yeah.
I was aware of it, but I wasn't really aware that it was Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
So no, not so much. Again, there were some things on telly when I was little. I went, oh, well, that's a great craft. That's
Yes,
good.
uh-huh.
And there was the eagle. I remember the eagle.
Of course.
The eagle.
There it is, yeah.
Craft. It was great.
Absolutely.
Those are great.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't it didn't grab me in quite the same way.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, odd, isn't it?
So Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting about that, though, Wayne, is we were talking earlier about how visual, the excitement of Thunderbirds for you as a child was with the visuals, the colours, the bold colours, the design, and yet it works just as well
Absolutely.
as an audio series.
Absolutely, because you have those images in your mind, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You just see it. They say, don't they, that the pictures are better on radio.
Yeah.
And
And they're certainly cheaper.
they're certainly a lot cheaper, and you
right.
can do whatever you want.
That's right, yeah.
And isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
God, it's great.
So has that been fun doing
That's
the
been
audio
great.
adventures?
What a terrific cast.
Yeah.
All of them. Absolutely brilliant.
Great. Yeah, amazing. All available, I should say, via Big Finish or the Anderson store, of course.
you go.
Still available.
Still-
Any more in the pipeline that you know of or are prepared to tell us, or you don't know?
Not that I know of,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
But I'm
All right.
always the last to know.
Yes. Is that the mushrooms are being left in the dark and fed on?
Yes, that's right.
Anyway,
No,
all right.
probably.
All for now. Wayne, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you around the table. We bump into each other all the time. And I have to say, you're a very busy man, and we have been trying, haven't we, over the last few months to find
We
space
have. I'm so glad to meet
get you in. Yeah, it's been lovely. So thanks for coming in.
Thank
Wayne
you,
Forrester.
Richard.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone. FAB.